Hi. Tonight I'm doing a review on a series called the Spook Squad series by Keri Arthur, and there's 3 books in this series. It's a trilogy. It's about a girl called Samantha Ryan, and at the beginning of the book, she's about 29, and she has no memory of her life um, from before she was 14 years old, and that's kind of like her back history. She doesn't know what type of childhood she has, and she's kind of no family, and she's a police officer, and at the beginning of the book, her partner, who was missing for the last few weeks, turns up, and he's a vampire, and he tries to kill her, and she's to kill him. Then she gets sucked into this kind of like, it's like a, it's like a policing agency, but it's mostly for kind of supernatural things. It's called a special investigation unit, I think. And they deal with all these different supernatural creatures. There's mostly vampires. So I saw someone do a review on this book, on the first book, Memory Zero. And I thought it sounded really good, so I decided to read it. And initially, I wasn't mad about Keri Arthur's books because I read some of her Riley Jensen books, and I don't know, I just felt they were overly kind of sexual. Like a lot of the sex scenes just unnecessary and just thrown in there, and it was focused more on that than the actual story. So I wasn't going to read another Keri Arthur book, but the review sounded good, and the reviewer said there was like no overly sexual scenes or anything like that in this series. So I was like, sounds good, and I finished it last night. And I have to say the first book was good enough, but overall as a series, I wouldn't recommend it. It was just so dull, and I just could not wait to finish it. I was on the 3rd book, and on my there I had about maybe just a little bit less than a half to go, and I was actually just tempted to stop reading it. I was like, I can't stop reading it now. I mean, I've read 2.5 of them, so I have to finish it. But I just started skimming it then towards the end, and 3 books worth of questions were all just answered in like the last few pages. And it was a very abrupt ending to the series. I feel like the author was told to finish this series now when she planned to do another book, because there's still so many things up in the air, and I felt it was very confusing, particularly the 2nd book. It was just too many names and too many people, like it was very like investigative. So detecting murders here and investigating crimes there, and there was just so many people involved in it, and there were so many different crimes and mysteries involved in it, and they all jumbled up together. And after a while, I was like, am I just stupid? Am I just not getting this? And I was just kind of too lazy then to put too much thought into getting it as well, because it was just too difficult to follow. Like, you want to enjoy a book, it was like hurting my head after a while trying to join the dots with every person. So I couldn't really enjoy it. And then the 3rd book was even worse than the 2nd book. So I can't recommend the series. Oh, yeah, and another thing that's quite confusing is that the author never really explains anything. Like, there's shape changers, there's shape shifters. I don't know what the difference was. Some can turn into birds, some can turn into, there's multi-shifters, some can turn into other human beings, and then there's these creatures called kites, which, it's not a very scary name. Apparently they're vicious things. They look like a bed sheet with teeth. I don't know. And there's like technology in this world. It's very advanced. And the characters were just irritating. There's a main guy and a main girl. And yeah, actually, they both narrate the book. I thought it was just from Samantha's point of view. Gabriel, the main guy in the series, he narrates too. And it's not like every chapter, it's constantly switching. And I've said this lots and lots of times, I don't like books that have more than one narrator. But, I mean, it wasn't the worst, that wasn't the worst part of the series, like, I got over it. But the characters themselves, like, it wasn't like you know, a funny, endearing twosome who hate each other, and it wasn't like a really romantic couple either. It was just like a polite respect, a politeness that isn't very interesting to read about, and they just got irritating. And Gabriel just had the same issues thrown at Samantha, like for the 3 books. And I was like, oh my god, get over it. It probably doesn't make sense if you didn't read the series, but I'm not really doing a spoiler review. There's no point. The series is just, it's not worth the read. I don't recommend it. I mean, the writing, I mean, it has really interesting ideas in there. I loved Samantha's history, and she kind of got flashbacks about what happened in her childhood, and there was a whole genetic manipulation and genetic splicing thing going on, and you know, like the military doing tests and labs, and then there's also like a vampire mob thing as well, so there's a bit too much going on, but there were really interesting things in there, and it had good potential to be very, very good, but the author just, I don't know, did something wrong along the way and just made it too confusing, and didn't make the characters very likeable. So yeah, I didn't know what was going on half the time really. So I don't recommend it, and which is a pity. So I think I'll just give up on Keri Arthur for now. But that's my kind of short review for tonight. It's a pity. I mean, every series I'm reading lately is bad. Ugh, I'm just constantly looking for a great series. I'm reading the Touchstone trilogy at the moment. I've read about the first 4 chapters, and it's good so far. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this will be a good series. You're probably sick of all these negative reviews as well. But anyway, that's that, and happy reading, and hope you tune into my next review.